Perambur has always been the bastion of Anglo-Indians in Madras and still is. Here, the community has been closely associated with the railways from the time the Madras, later known as M&SM Railways, first set up shop in 1856, and the overhauling of carriages, locos and wagons were carried out here.
I started from the very bottom as a Kalasi, and I came up pulling trolleys and digging up and putting cables, widening the platforms so that this broad gauge could come in. So I had to change all the cables. It was hard work. Then I got transferred to Perambur and I was put in the battery section. So I see to all the batteries of the train.
Okay, were the other Anglo-Indians with you? You remember any of them?
There was Vinna Cuxton, Mervyn Clare, Mario Brooks.
My uncle Malcolm MacLure he was a shunter and then he became a driver and ended up as an A-grade driver finally. But when he was on the steam engine, he would take us for rides. And that steam engine, I'll tell you, Richard, that's an experience. That is really an experience. You know, excuse me if I stand up, right? Because it's like you have this furnace in the front, deep and big furnace in the front, and at the back of it you have this place where you have the coal. Okay, and these two, you find it's not linked like just straight away. It's got that like overlapping flaps which hold these two. One is dragging the other. It's like
so they shovel the coal together.
So they shovel the coal from here into this, and one guy from top will push it down. They'll take the coal and shovel it into the fire. Once that loads, rake it up nicely and then close. So that builds the steam for it. And when it moves, the front portion is like this. As it goes, it's, that full speed. And if you're standing inside, you're literally rocking.
It was hard work for the coal shovelers.
But for the guy who's shoveling, he has to get, hardly shovel distance 2 feet, 2.5 feet.
3 feet, yeah.
2.5 feet, 3 feet, the shovel distance, that's it. Push back. But then his hand is going. Huh?
You must be falling sweat.
If you see what I have on my head, bandana, those guys used to wear this. Most of the railwaymen used to wear this in the earlier days. And they'll have this on their head, they'll have a thin jersey, a banyan vest, and they will be sweating, and over that, the cold dust will get onto them.
Many Anglo-Indians also worked in the B&C mills when it was set up at Perambur towards the end of the 19th century. Post-independence, a few found employment in the ICF, which came into being in 1952.
We lived in Perambur in a street called Rangasai Naidu Street, which is in the corner of Foxon Street. So my neighbor at the time was a chap named Jude Lazaro. Teddy Lazaro, Jean Lazaro, and they had a few kids. They had 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. And the youngest one was Jude Lazaro, which was roughly around my age. So I used to play with him. So he was number 3, I was number 5, and we played almost every day. We grew up together. Table tennis was something we did all the time. Almost every day we used their dining table, put up a net and practice our table tennis. And after we left in '89, we sort of lost touch. And I'm happy to say that I did catch up with Jude Lazaro 2-3 years ago, and he was working in Kuwait, and he's now migrated with his family to Australia.
I've been in Perambur since 1956, studying at the Perambur convent, St. Joseph's convent, and at that time, about nearly 85% were Anglo-Indians in that school.
We spoke to a former resident of Perambur who remembers the war years, especially during 1942 to 45, when many railwaymen and even women were forced to join the war effort.
All the men in the workshops were militarized. My daddy was made a captain and we stayed there till the war was over. After he retired, we went to Main Road, Perambur. There, we were close to the Railway Institute.
Thelma Deek was born in Perambur in 1934 and had lived in the railway quarters, first on Constable Road, then on Trevithick Avenue, before moving to her home opposite the Railway Institute.
In the evenings, the girls and boys would go to the institute and play hockey, and ladies also used to play tennis there. in the evening. And they go home, have a change, have their dinner and come back, especially on Saturdays with the Saturday dance. Every Saturday we used to have housie and dancing.
Many fondly recall the Perambur of yesteryears.
The Perambur Main Road, the Paper Mills Road, Foxton Street, Rangasai Naidu Street, Ballard Street, Ballard Square were all just filled with Anglo-Indians.
A lot of places in Ballard Street housed the Anglo-Indians. And what I particularly liked was on a Saturday night when we used to have that listener's choice on All India Radio. What you start at the beginning of the main road, when you walk right down to the end of main road coming near Beer Shop Lane, you will hear that song still playing. Because, every house they'll have their radio on listening to this. And it was so nice.
And I think you stayed on Ballard Street, right?
Yes.
Okay, who are your neighbors?
There was the Lazarus, then there were the Andersons who went to England. There were in Ballard Square there was the Magees, the Arundales, the Muriels. They've all gone away to Australia and England. Mendes, Masons, Greens. They're all in Ballard Square, and this side was the Andersons, the Jones, the Castletons, the Cowans. Then there was my granduncle Ernest Bailey, and then we were, my dad and mum and us lived at the terrace at Ballard Street. And opposite there were the Bants, the Langans, and the other side the Sousas, Claudiuses. They were all the whole street, Fonsecas, Terrys, Rice.
This is an amazing world, and suddenly this whole world seems to have vanished, Joe.
Exactly.
It so happened that we were coming to Perambur to pick up a guitar for a party that we were having back in my house. So that was one of the first memories I had of coming into Perambur, and that too Foxton Street. So it was a shock to me to see the entire community as such just alongside each other on the street and walking in from one house into the other and into the other.
We used to even play tops, play tops, and it was so a thing like always the girls used to win, the boys used to get angry. Somehow they'll have to break our tops, no? If they lose, we used to break up our tops. Then
From marbles to tops to gilli dandu and sticks and stones, and it was amazing fun growing up I think we didn't know life outside an Anglo-Indian colony.
So what type of games did you play?
Everything. Cricket, whatever was in season. Marbles, tops, gilli dandu, kites, hockey, everything.
You flew kites?
Yes.
And
excelled in all of those things.
Like we would open a transistor and put it back, and we would go and buy ingredients for toothpaste and make our own toothpaste. And we had a lot of toys, electronic toys, which you get for our birthday. We used to just open it up and put it back, just to keep ourselves occupied.
It was totally an Anglo-Indian area, especially the main road. We walked down the road, in the evening especially, boys sitting on the walls, and when we walk, especially if girls go around, they just pass some remarks, and it was quite a different place that time.
Holy Cross had a commercial center there, so I had to necessarily walk down main road, and it was very scary. Sometimes I used to refuse to go even for the classes, because these guys used to just drag the girls.
So it must have been a common feeling among the girls. They would have been dreading.
No, it was not with all girls. It was basically the new girls. They see a new face, then they said, this is our chance.
Because one of the girls, Veronica Hatfield, was my neighbour, and we all lived just around, the corner. We used to, every evening, once we finish our studies, if you're bored, from Paper Mills Road, we'd walk down Main Road, right to the very end of Main Road, and come back again. Every day. Just look at the boys.
After some time, they all became our good friends, the same boys.
So now all that nice world is gone.
Only if you walk down Main Road, there's only flats, apartments. You can't see anybody.
Because at that time you had big houses and compounds, but now it's huge flats. So all the roads look much smaller now, and it's so busy. The population's more right now, and the traffic is so much. you don't feel safe walking down the road, but it used to be a pleasure. That was every evening's entertainment, just going down the road and coming.
So these boys will take us all by bus, and we used to go to My Lady's Garden in Mylapore, in the Moore Market, and we used to go swimming there.
There is another popular place called My Lady's Garden, and it's a royal swimming pool. Very popular places. We used to go there to see the flower show. Very nice it is. Even till today it is there, My Lady's Garden and that royal bath swimming pool.
Near Moore Market.
At the back of Moore Market, yeah.
Correct.
The Railway Institute was the hub of social life.
The Railway Club. So the Railway Club Hall, so that's a place that I think has been unchanged for all these years. And we have a special attachment to that place because of the amount of concerts we played there. And our band was almost 90% Anglo-Indian. We had Fabian Hall, Noel Peters, Grenville Jones, and then of course myself and Shrikant.
The dances then were amazing. It's nothing in comparison. It's actually, these are some of the things that actually make, when we come back, we feel sad that, the people who are here, or the younger generation now, have no idea what an awesome childhood all of us had growing up in Madras.
The Railway Institute was also the venue for weddings and other get-togethers.
I got married there as well, so I think if the wedding was not in the Railway Institute, I think it was a flop show. So that was our thought growing up, because I think that's where all the fun was.
The weddings those days, I remember we never used to have dinner. It used to be what we call now a high tea. So sandwiches will be made at home. The meat paste, I remember, with the mustard, the butter. We make those sandwiches. We make, the puffs were made at home. The pastry, I remember Dad and Mom making pastries, for the puff with suet. If somebody's getting married, the whole community, they'll all be making sandwiches. Everybody will be making puffs. So, fixing the decorations. Decorations were literally handmade. The band was all literally family members most of the time.
If it's a wedding, family wedding, all the relations and the family members, first thing in the morning we have to go to church. We need to decorate the church. The previous night they'll decorate the hall till late in the night.
That itself was good fun, no?
That was good fun, right till the end, taking down the decorations for fun.
So you must have been to the Railway Institute?
Oh yes, many times. Even during the time of Father Sieber at the church, he used to run movies, good, beautiful, lovely movies, especially the old Western cowboy movies, every Sunday.
At the Institute?
At the Institute.
And what was the entry fee?
It used to be 25 paisa. Yeah, 25 paisa at that time. And I think for adults, for the kids or for the boys and girls, it was 25 paisa. I think it was 50 paisa, 40 paisa for adults. Yeah, and that all went to the church.
Railway Institute, that not only dances, weddings, any baptism parties, everything happened over there. Because they had small, not only the Institute Hall, which was the Springboard Hall.
Why was it called Springboard?
Because it was built in such a way where the shocks, the springs from the railway tracks were put in over there and the board was laid over it. In the recent years, about 15, 20 years ago, they removed that and filled it with, debris. Yeah.
The Institute still sports the famous wooden floor. And if only these floorboards could speak, what stories we would have got. Of confetti and grand marches at weddings, of sweet whisperings among the ladies, and bravado among the men, and of couples dancing to their heart's content. Anglo-Indians were natural dancers and were adept at the box step, the foxtrot, the waltz, cross step, and the jive. The cross step, one must say, is a dance unique to the Anglo-Indian community, and one is not likely to find it elsewhere.
Dances never gave over a minute before 4 o'clock. So you went home with the cows and with the milkman.
Are you a good dancer?
Yes, I love to dance if I got a good partner. I suppose I'm not a very good jiver, but I think ballroom dancing and the foxtrot and the waltzes, I sort of do enjoy.
What's your favorite dance?
Me, eh?
Slow dancing, yeah?
No, I'll do anything. From jive to waltz to anything.
Okay.
I'm used to it, at least, no longer.
Ballroom dancing, yes. Waltzing, foxtrot, the old-fashioned stuff I'm very good at. But the latest ones, I'm just breaking my knees.
For some, even ballet was not out of reach.
So they are basically brought up on a diet of Western music, which is pop music and classical music and things like that. So it's so easy for them to translate beats. So when you come to a structured form of exercise and dance like ballet, you already are sound as far as beats and musicality is concerned.
There was always the exception though.
Did you go to the Railway Institute for any shows?
No, we didn't go. We were actually not brought up in that way. So Dad didn't encourage us on those lines. Very strict.
So otherwise, but when you go attend weddings here and all that, you generally take part in the dancing, grand march, you know.
You never heard of the time when that earthquake happened? So, you think I'll want to try that again? No. No.
Okay.
My mum's other brother, Mervyn Frost, used to have his own dancing school. So he had another set of people who used to come to learn dancing.
Where was this dancing set up in those days? Which part of Perambur? Which street? Fox Street?
Murugappa Mudali Street. Not in Perambur, in Vepri.
People who came to this dancing school in those days were Anglo-Indians or non-Anglo-Indians?
Both.
That means that man who was teaching must have been pretty good at it.
He and Jean Kai, she was an ex-air hostess. They won many rock and roll competitions.
Anglo-Indians have been pioneers of Western dance training in the city. It was Marie Bastian who first taught ballet in the city at the Russian Cultural Center.
And she was pretty old, but she was excellent as far as determination and her exercise routines and things like that. And she was so kind and so nurturing and conducive. It was such a conducive environment to learn an art form.
Mary Bastian had a very special care for me. Always she used to call me. She used to put me in center because those time I was very shy. I was a little bit introvert. I used to always feel I was very thin. I had a long nose. Always she calls me, Nasa, come, you do the central character she used to do. And that's where she gave me confidence that I can do something on my stage.
The Anglo-Indians and Parsis were the only ones that patronized the art form because they were the only ones that were aware of the art form. It's a Western art form, it's a Western culture. So most of the Anglo-Indians are exposed to Western culture, Western music, and we are brought up on that. So we had a lot of Anglo-Indians and I think predominantly Anglo-Indians.
Do you remember some of those who...
Oh yes, I remember Patricia Considine. She was not my classmate or batchmate, she was before me actually. And there was Sally Bothwick, there was this girl from Perambur, Simran Rowlands. So I think those were a few names that stand out.
When Marie Bastian emigrated to Australia in 1990, it was Anne Toner who took up the mantle.
So after that it's been like an amazing journey. There were a lot of sacrifices and a lot of blood, sweat and tears that had to go into developing whatever, because we used to do just classical ballet. As long as we were under the banner of the Russian Cultural Center, we were not allowed to do any other style of dance. We had to do Russian ballet.
Anne has been the city's most sought-after ballet teacher for over 25 years.
It's just an enormous satisfaction. Earlier I used to perform and that was a different type of fulfillment. And now as a choreographer and as a director of the school and as a coordinator of shows, it's such a bag of different tricks that you have to do. And it's really amazing because you get to choreograph, you get to shape the kids, you get to train them, you get to pick out the best and let them flourish, like a flower when it's a bud and then it opens. It's an enormous feeling to see them develop through the different stages and become a professional ballet dancer.
I went on to form a dance troupe and we used to perform for a lot of events, and I'm talking about not in school but outside corporate events, and this went on for a couple of years. But after a while I felt that I needed to do more than dance, and so I got into the choreography aspect of dance. I enjoyed that a lot. It was much more challenging.
Leeza was also prominent in musicals.
Yes, I was with the Delhi Music Theatre when they did West Side Story. And that's a memorable one. 10 days of continuous performances with a live orchestra and a cast of more than 80 people.
So you were singing at that event?
Yes, since it was a music theatre production and I was doing one of the main roles. So yes.
Oh, so you are both acting and singing.
And
Oh,
dancing,
and
yes. Yes.
Other dancers who have made a mark are Andrea Jacob, Jessica Smith, Denver Nicholas, and above all, Jeffrey Warden of the Hot Shoe Dance Company. Jeffrey was the first to introduce the salsa to Madras, and his musicals have set the standard for theatre in the city over the past 2 decades.
Come from a very good dance background. Mom and dad are dancers, and dad used to organize dances at his workspace, which was Larsen and Toubro. So he was the secretary of the cultural committee or something. And but I wasn't allowed to go for those dances because I was too small. And I think my first dance was sometime when I was in college, maybe 1920.
So having parents who, did the tango very well, and mom and dad and my grandmother who would jig a lot. And I was just thinking about it just yesterday that when we were kids and we went to someone's house, if that auntie knew how to dance, she'll say, okay, I have so many kids, get up. And one auntie in Kodambakam taught us square dancing just by visiting her for a meal.
As a dance instructor, Andrea focuses on movement as therapy and takes her art to varied sections of society.
I remember one week once I had a movement therapy workshop in prison, and the same week I had a workshop for the women employees at Infosys, and which is an IT company. And the people in prison said they felt like they were in prison, and the people in Infosys said that they felt like they were in prison. So I said, it's just how you see it. One is seeing it with glass walls, and one is seeing it with, prison walls. People are convinced with the way you communicate. So when I'm sharing information, I tell them something that's good not just for themselves, but for their whole family, for their work unit. And in prison it was more vital because I was even teaching it to the wardens, to the counselors, and to the remand convicts. They listened because they know their body was missing something. Even though their body involves a physical activity, they had lost the essence to actually, just to feel like a child again. And the best way I learned it was from the autistic children because they give you something that's so pure and so natural.
There were those who were dancers or dance instructors for films.
My mom, that's Shirley Wilkins, she used to do the limbo, that rod and getting down underneath, and the Arabian belly dancing and other things. So our Anglo-Indian girls were good dancers. So they would dance with these other the dance masters who were there who took charge of the thing, and actually teach them how to do this jive and cha-cha-cha. And Auntie Bernard, that is now Sheila Bernard's mother, she would take these girls, come home, send the taxi to pick up all the girls and boys and then take them to the studios.
When we were kids, like Alan and the Whittles, Bartleys and the Whittles, when they used to meet up, we used to have social gatherings almost every week, either in their house, Saturdays in their house, then Sunday would be in our house, or if it's a birthday party, Friday would be somewhere, and every Friday, Saturday, Sunday we celebrated. We had fun when we were kids. We used to play dark room and all that, and then the ending will be a dance. So I used to do my Andhra moves, like the kuttu, tapang kuttu. I used to do the tapang kuttu. Then when I went to St. Bede's, the boarding used to have this dances after dinner. And that's where it helped me a lot in a way. That's where whenever I have a shot, full loose.
Indeed, Lucian can be an electric dancer. He took us to the AVM studio premises at Vadapalani, where we met Alan Bartley.
Apart from just routine maintenance and servicing, we also manufacture lenses, or basically repurpose lenses, which may be very old vintage lenses. So we bring them up to date, because the thing is with digital cameras, the image tends to look very clinical. I mean, it looks different from the old film. So we can replicate the film look by using really old lenses with the modern cameras.
Alan is the son of a cinematographer, Marcus Bartley.
And he will not work without a script. A lot of these people, they don't have a proper script in place and they just wing it, while making these movies. But he would have none of that. He would, if he were to accept a movie, he would insist on full script, and he would plan his lighting and everything the day before. See that all the lights are placed, make chalk marks, etc.
Films like Shemeen in Malayalam, Maya Bazaar in Telugu, Shanti Nilayam in Tamil, and Ram or Shyam in Hindi all did well at the box office and even won top awards.
In fact, so many things he did, but he always had the tendency to downplay his achievements and wouldn't talk much about it. So.
Yeah. So he was always reticent. Even at home, he was.
Yes, very, very, very reticent.
Very quiet, jovial, and loved kids. He always treated us to a movie or used to take us to boat club often, and we had fun with the kickapoo and the fish fingers and the French fries and the boat trips, catching. We had good fun.
Marcus's father, James Bartley, was the RMO of the railway hospital in Perambur in his time. Talk of Anglo-Indian doctors, and one must mention Theo Rodericks and Anne Mary Fernandez, who are both accomplished doctors based in Perambur. I asked Lucian about his aunt Rosalind Conway, who was at one time the chief of nurses training at the General Hospital in the city.
I'm actually living in my aunt's place now, after I moved from Singapore. I'm staying in my aunt's place because she is working in a hospital in Vizag, where she tutors nurses. She has done a PhD in nursing.
Apart from dancers and film artists and technicians, the community also had its fair share of supermodels in the country. Diana Hayden of Hyderabad, Sarah Connor of Bangalore, and the Breadmeyer sisters of Bombay, to name a few.
I have seen from a very far off place Anna Breadmeyer. I believe you must be knowing more because you are in the clan. I believe, I am told their 2-3 sisters and cousins were all models. Probably some of the top models of their era.
Tanitha Pereira of Madhavaram has been modeling for advertisements for the past 7 years.
I've modeled for quite a few brands actually. I did the Equitas Bank, their first ever campaign. I was part of it. I did Citizens of Fashion campaign with Amazon in Varanasi, and I did a Mazda ad. I've done a Spring Fit mattress ad. I hand model as well, so I've done a few iBacco ads.
How did this all start, I asked her.
Someone called me saying, would you be interested? And I said, why not? And I gave it a shot, and from there it just went on. And now I've actually stepped into like a bit of art direction and styling, because I've realized that for me, modeling is not about like looking good or anything. It's more about how the whole aesthetic of a frame comes out.
She has designed ads for the likes of Kaveri, Sukra, Mehta Jewelers, etc.
It's a busy life for you.
Yeah, it's busy. It's not certain. You never know. Like I have a week that I'm completely filled with shoots, and then maybe 3 weeks with nothing. But I also think that if you make a decision to be a freelancer, you might be free most of the time. So it's kind of a give and take. But when it's there, it's really good.
Tanita's mom is Italian, so I had this question for her.
Which is your favorite food? Which dish?
Oh, I love my pepper water and fry. So, yeah, you could. That's one of my favorites.
Better than the pizza?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we are back to the subject of Anglo-Indian food, which is something you cannot buy off any shelf or order at any hotel. You got to cook it yourself wherever you are, or do without it.
But then when I moved to Dubai, I had to start cooking, and I think I started cooking there, and I'm very passionate about cooking now.
Oh, okay. Which is your favorite Anglo-Indian dish then?
Oh, that would have to be masala chops, of course. My mom would cook that on our birthdays. For our birthdays, we would be asked what we would like. And then we say, my answer would always be dal, smash and chops.
My favorite is normally pork. I like anything made with pork. Pork roast, pork vindaloo. I love it.
Which is your favorite Anglo-Indian dish?
Pork vindaloo. Nothing comes close to that.
You've been having pork vindaloo from a very young age?
Oh, very young age. My dad was a great cook. And he had a recipe where everyone who came home and tasted it, they all wanted to get it.
They tell me my pork vindaloo is very good. Tongue, they like that tongue fry or whatever. I try to cook everything.
And what about you?
Same. She's good in chops. Masala chops.
I spoke to teenage sisters visiting from Perth, as well as their Aussie friend.
I love idlis, dosas, chutney, tomato chutney. Yeah.
It's my favorite. It's biryani as well.
Oh, okay. And Talia, have you tasted idli and chutney?
I have, yeah, mainly when I've been over here. I've tried it in Perth at Serena's house, but a lot more over here.
Ron Timmins is also from Perth, and he bowled us over with his signature dishes when he came down to Madras.
Add a pinch of salt when the onions are frying. This will speed up the caramelization of the onions. I will add my ginger and garlic, the turmeric, teaspoon and a half, chili powder, 3 to 4 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon and a half of mustard powder. To this I add the vinegar into a paste, the consistency of toothpaste coming out of a tube. Now that the ingredients have been frying for the last 10 minutes, I add the diced tomatoes. I put the chicken pieces into the pan before I shall lower the temperature, add some water, and then let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. The chicken should be done in that time. I'm just adding a teaspoon or a cube of sugar to balance the acidity in the vindaloo. I've got that down on a very low heat. I'll let it simmer for about 5 minutes, and the chicken should be well and truly done.
Ron has not only been a cop in Perth, but he has also been chef at the Green Coriander restaurant there for a few years when it was owned by his family. His book All-Time Anglo-Indian Recipes, launched in 2019, has been a sellout. Another top visitor to the city in 2019 was Bridget White, celebrity Anglo-Indian chef from Bangalore, who helped curate the Anglo-Indian Food Festival hosted by the Airport Radisson Blu Hotel. In Melbourne, popular restaurants are run by Norman Fosbury, Gerard McFarlane, and Robert Rabel. John Fernandez of Periyar Nagar did home deliveries at one time. Johnson caterers were popular for weddings and other occasions. What do you cook? What dishes do you make?
Anything. Anglo-Indian food, Chinese, Chettinad food, North Indian. A lot of stuff because Dad was a very good cook. And so back in the day, we used to have a bunk school from St. Patrick's, and a couple of our friends used to come back home, and we didn't have money to buy food. We had to eat lunch, so the general thing was look at Dad what he's cooking on Sundays and learn up some recipe, and then all the friends come home. I used to just cook. So
she had to go for an operation, so she wrote out. I sat and wrote a little notebook with recipes because I had to take over the kitchen as she was going in for an operation, and that's when the cooking started. So the first day was mishmash rice, but it started, and then once I finished and I was working like weekends, like a Saturday or Sunday, I would take over the cooking and do it.
Do you cook?
My wife does, although she's English. She could do a good biryani, and you name it, and she'll cook it. Cook the curry.
Oh, that's lovely.
All curry and rice.
In Perambur, there are a few takeaway and home delivery food outlets run by Anglo-Indians, such as Destiny's Kitchen by Lyndon Yu, Boo's Kitchen by Jimmy Thomas, and Mel's Kitchen by Melissa Mason. St. Thomas Mount too had the hot spot some years ago, which was run by Maurice Ballantyne, and now the Nest, run by Neil Urey.
Through this guy Desmond Benny, I happened to be passing by, and Desi see me and called me and said, "Hey, I heard the shop is coming up for sale. Would you be interested?" And then I spoke, got things organized, and then Stephen Sladen and me started this.
How do you get quite a few customers here on Mount?
Yeah, mostly all the Anglos come here. And just come here to the menu because you're going to tie up with Spiggy and tomato.
Oh, that would be nice. In Palavaram, Melville Doyle ably runs the Cowboys Corner, serving up dishes like beef curry, pan rolls, and Anglo dal. Though not fully established, Melville often helps the poor, and this was clearly seen this summer when he teamed up with some generous Anglo-Indians hailing from Palavaram to supply food, sanitizers, and other essential supplies to hundreds of migrant workers who were stranded during the ongoing pandemic. Many put their kitchens to full use during the lockdown, some as a hobby, some as a home business. Mention must also be made of Joan Fernandez of Nungambakam, who was sought out for her cake and wine several years ago.
My mom's book, I brought it out for that, to preserve that tradition and pass it on to not just Anglos but the rest of the world, that unique tradition of picking up dishes from different parts of India and anglicizing it, making it your own. Ball curry, coconut rice and ball curry, masala chops. My mom was a great cook, so I can't really spell out a dish. Right from the idlis and chutney in the morning, or the idlis and beef curry in the morning, something these guys can't get. How do you eat idli and beef curry? Taste it. Okay, so yeah, I'm a foodie that way, although it doesn't show too much.
Yeah, we've taken our beef for granted, haven't we?
Live it while it lasts. We don't know where that's going. So,
tell me, Aubrey, which is your favorite Anglo-Indian dish?
To be honest, pepota and beef fry. And other than that, if you want to go even more, it's like the devil chutney.
Now, your wife is not an Anglo-Indian, but does she cook Anglo food?
She cooks great food, man. Great food.
So, you like her pepota?
Yes, excellent pepota from Andhra.
Way of preparation is totally different from what the regular Indian would cook. Indian families would cook, rather.
Okay. Can you give an example?
For instance, take the pepota. What I learned from my mom, the Andhra style, is like basically you mash up everything and just season and boil. But then the Anglo-Indian way, you blend or grind everything together, and they'll add a lot of asafoetida, and even the curry leaf and coriander I blend. That's how I learned from my mother-in-law, and it totally tastes different. And the way, the method it's done.
The pepota made at home is different compared to anywhere else. If you go to an Anglo-Indian house, the pepota is totally different. Bone pepota, tomato pepota, all that, whatever they call it, it's nice.
We spoke to Shireen Daly, who lives in the Harmony Apartments, which is overwhelmingly Anglo-Indian and caters from home.
I supply pickles, I supply cutlets, and sometimes I just get a call. We need say around 50 pan rolls by 6:30 in the evening. So if I get a call by 4 o'clock or 4:30, and if they want that, I don't refuse. I never refuse my customers. I go ahead.
Her beef biryani is much sought after. One must note here that though the biryani is a Muslim dish, Anglo-Indians in Madras do cook it a little differently. It could perhaps be compared to the Dindigal Talapakattu biryani in Tamil Nadu.
So tell me, which is your favorite dish, Stafford?
Beef biryani.
Why so?
Probably because I was born on a day which was full of celebrations, and I was just born half an hour after my mother ate biryani.
Wow, okay, that's great. In fact, Anglo-Indians seem to like biryani a lot these days.
Yes, of course. Any celebration is either biryani or coconut rice and ball curry. The older generation were much better in preparing stuff than the actual present generation.
Somehow we've also embraced biryani as part of every important function we have or get together. We embrace biryani. We've forgotten about our coconut rice and ball curry, and so we need to bring it back. But at the same time, find a balance. I think finding a balance will keep it real.
Though biryani is not a standing dish for Anglo-Indians, but today many Anglo-Indians love to cook it because it's actually very easy to cook.
Christmas, biryani, brinjal chutney, and third, raita. New Year, ball curry and coconut rice. And we used to have these huge plates, I don't know if you know, huge porcelain plates, and they would cook the food outside in those massive chatties with the wood fire, and the food would be brought up, and all the food will be served in those massive porcelain plates, and all the kids and grandkids would sit together and eat.
I like making biryanis, cutlets, souffles, desserts, which is the blancmange, custards, the caramel custard, I would say. jellies.
I'm drooling. Come on, no.
You're fond of custard, Sandra?
Caramel custard.
This little girl is fond of baking chocolate cake.
You add your flour into your bowl, you put some milk in, and then you add 2 or 3 eggs. Inside you break it and you just put it in, and then you put some little cocoa powder in it, 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons in it, put little vanilla essence, half a teaspoon in the bowl, and then you mix it up. You put it in the microwave or the oven, which one you like, and then when you finish baking it, you take it out. You actually have to put Oreos in the cake.
Oh, so this is an Oreo cake.
Yes. You leave the cream aside, and when the Oreo cake is done, you put the cream on top of the cake.
My favorite dessert,
which you like to make,
I make it's called a banana bread, and I make a banana toffee and I have it with it, or a banana jelly.
So your students like that?
Yes, in fact I put it in that new menu which I made, and because it's fresh, it's made outside, people appreciate it well, and it's going really very well in Bombay.
I make something different as rum and raisin balls, rum and raisin chocolates, berry blasts. Those are the different chocolates that I make, and then I make some lollies for kids.
What about the devil chutney, I ask her.
I learned the devil chutney from my mom, which includes onions, ginger garlic paste, jaggery, a pinch of chili powder, salt, tamarind.
You add lemon?
I don't add lemon. I add plums sometimes.
Why is it called devil?
Maybe because all the Anglo-Indians are devils and they like it so much.
Shireen's stall at the Anglo-Indian Craft and Cuisine Fair held at St. George's School in August 2018 was top draw.
Lots of people love Anglo-Indian cuisine, and it's a sense of nostalgia that we got them back here. Particularly the Remington brand typewriter. Everybody comes and asks if it's for sale. I said, give me one lad. Why not?
Other popular stalls were this one, and Penny's Cakes and Bakes by Penny Thomas Fernandez and her family, and Maple T-shirts by the Abraham sisters.
It's nice to even know that Anglos have started businesses on their own. I've seen and known a lot of entrepreneurs. I got my hair done by an Anglo-Indian yesterday, and I should mention she's one of the nicest Anglo I've met, and she runs a salon in Jamalia. So it's nice, and it's nice to also help our Anglos. You know, being a customer to an Anglo is actually helping them out.
The ginger wine, fondly called OT, sold out at St. George's in no time. The fair was organized by the Forum of Anglo-Indian Women, and more than anything else, served to bring the members of the community together. There was a lucky dip and housey, and even some freestyle dancing. Some of the articles sold were crochet sofa backs, dollies, and fabric gift bags for wine bottles. The tea cozy is hardly used nowadays, and so was kept only for display.